19% of American adults now take magnesium for sleep, and most of them are getting 4% of what they paid for. The Sleepy Girl mocktail went viral. Adoption doubled in 1 year. But there's a trap inside that bottle almost nobody talks about. And it's the reason your magnesium probably isn't working. You've been tossing for 45 minutes. Your brain is louder at midnight than it was at noon. You know you should be tired. Your body is exhausted. But something inside refuses to let go. So you did what everyone recommends. You bought magnesium. Maybe because of an Instagram reel. Maybe because a friend swore it changed her life. You took it for a week, maybe 2, and nothing really changed. Here's the thing that frustrates me about this whole conversation. It's not that magnesium doesn't work. The research actually shows it does work. The problem is almost nobody is taking it in a form their body can use. I've been there. Years ago, when I was rebuilding my sleep from scratch, I tried every supplement on Amazon: magnesium, melatonin, L-threonate, ashwagandha, CBD. My cabinet looked like a pharmacy. My sleep looked the same. And for a long time, I blamed the supplements, until I learned that the problem wasn't the molecule. It was the version of it I kept buying. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And here's the deeper problem. When a supplement you believed in doesn't work, you don't just feel frustrated. You start to feel broken, like your body is resistant to the thing that's helping everyone else. That feeling is the real thief. It's what makes people stop trying. So in the next 18 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what the research says about magnesium and sleep, the neuroscience, the clinical trials, the forms that actually work, and the single mistake that ruins almost everyone's experience with it. By the end of this video, you'll know how to run a real 4-week test on yourself, with realistic expectations and a protocol backed by published trials. Let's start with something most videos on this topic skip entirely. The reason magnesium affects sleep has nothing to do with being a sedative. It's not a sleeping pill. It's a brake pedal for an overactive nervous system. Your brain runs on 2 opposing systems. On one side, there's GABA, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Think of it as the brake pedal. When GABA binds to its receptors, neurons slow down and the nervous system calms. On the other side, you have NMDA receptors, the accelerator. These are excitatory channels that let calcium flow into neurons and keep the brain alert. And here's where magnesium comes in. Magnesium ions physically sit inside the NMDA receptor pore. At rest, they plug the channel like a cork, preventing calcium from flooding in. When you're low on magnesium, that cork is missing. Your brain's accelerator stays stuck on. Even at 11 p.m., at the same time, magnesium makes GABA more effective. The same amount of GABA calms more neurons when magnesium is present. So you get a dual effect: less excitation and more inhibition. This is the neurobiology of winding down. A 2023 systematic review in biological trace element research looked at this exact mechanism across 9 clinical studies and over 7,000 subjects. The conclusion? Magnesium's status is consistently associated with sleep quality, especially sleep onset latency and sleep efficiency. But here's the open loop I want you to hold on to. All of that neuroscience is real, and most people get 0 of it because of one mistake made before the supplement even reaches their bloodstream. This is the thing I wish I'd known 5 years ago, and it's going to make you look at your supplement cabinet differently. Bioavailability is the percentage of a supplement that actually reaches your bloodstream and tissues. For magnesium, this number varies wildly between forms. Magnesium oxide, the cheapest and most common form on pharmacy shelves, has a bioavailability of around 4%. 4. Magnesium glycinate, where magnesium is bonded to the amino acid glycine, has a bioavailability of 80 to 90%. That's a 20-fold difference. Not 20%, 20 times. Let me put that in real numbers. If you take 400 milligrams of magnesium oxide, about 16 milligrams actually reaches your tissues. The other 384 are excreted. If you take half that dose, 200 milligrams, but in the glycinate form, you deliver roughly 180 milligrams to your cells. That's more than 10 times the actual magnesium, with half the pill size. The reason this works is chemistry. Glycinate is what's called a chelated form. The magnesium is tightly bonded to an amino acid. That bond protects it from stomach acid and lets it hitchhike into your bloodstream through amino acid transporters, which are high capacity and don't saturate easily. Oxide has no such protection. It dissolves poorly, gets blocked by your gut, and most of it ends up going straight through you. This is why so many people say magnesium didn't work for them. They tried it, they followed the internet's advice. They just never absorbed enough of it to reach the brain. And there's a second layer to this. Even when you pick the right form, your intestines can only absorb about 200 to 300 milligrams of magnesium per single dose. If you take a giant 600 milligram pill thinking more is better, your body just excretes the excess. Absorption saturates. So let's build the actual protocol. This is what I'd recommend if you were starting from zero tonight. Based on the published clinical trials, the first move is to stop buying whatever is cheapest. If the label just says magnesium or magnesium oxide, put it back. The forms you want are magnesium glycinate, bisglycinate, or L-threonate. Citrate works too, but it has a laxative effect at higher doses. Glycinate is my default recommendation for most people. It's well tolerated, widely available, and the glycine itself has independent sleep benefits. We'll come back to that in a second. Here's a mistake I made for over a year. When you look at a magnesium bottle, you'll see a number like 500 milligrams. That number often refers to the total compound weight, not the magnesium itself. What you actually want to find is the elemental magnesium, the actual amount of magnesium your body receives. On a bisglycinate label, 1,000 milligrams of the compound might only contain 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium. That smaller number is what your body sees. Look for it. Track that one. What if I told you that starting with the lowest dose actually gets you more benefit than starting high? Here's why. If you jump straight to 400 milligrams, the most common side effect is loose stools. That discouragement makes people quit before the real benefits kick in. Start at 150 milligrams of elemental magnesium, 1 to 2 hours before bed. After 5 to 7 days, bump to 200. Another week later, move to 250 to 300. That upper range, 250 to 300 milligrams, is exactly what the largest recent clinical trial used. This sounds weird, but it matters more than most people think. Magnesium doesn't work instantly. Peak blood levels arrive about 1 to 2 hours after you take it. So if you swallow the pill the moment your head hits the pillow, the magnesium is still sitting in your stomach when you're trying to fall asleep. Take it 1 to 2 hours before bed. That way, peak absorption hits your brain right when sleep onset machinery is ramping up. This is also the window when your body is starting to produce melatonin, and magnesium supports the enzymes involved in melatonin synthesis. Melatonin is the hormone that tells your brain it's biological night. When the enzyme that builds melatonin has enough magnesium as a cofactor, you get better melatonin curves naturally, without even taking a melatonin supplement. This is the step I've been building toward. It's the one that changed how I think about magnesium entirely. Cortisol is your main stress hormone. It's supposed to be high in the morning to wake you up and low at night when you're trying to sleep. For people with chronic stress or insomnia, that rhythm gets inverted. Cortisol stays elevated through the night and fragments your sleep architecture. In 2012, researchers ran a placebo-controlled trial in 46 older adults with insomnia. 8 weeks of magnesium supplementation. The results were striking. Serum cortisol dropped significantly, with a p-value of 0.008. Serum melatonin increased significantly, p-value of 0.007. Sleep time went up, sleep efficiency improved, and sleep onset latency dropped by meaningful amounts. What I love about this trial is that it measured objective biomarkers. They weren't just asking people how they felt. They were showing a real hormonal shift in the blood. Magnesium simultaneously pushed down the hormone that fragments sleep and pushed up the hormone that initiates it. The mechanism is something called the HPA axis, the hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal stress pathway. Magnesium quiets the signal at the top of that chain, so less cortisol ends up being released downstream. This is where most people fail, and it has nothing to do with the supplement. It has to do with patience. A 2025 randomized placebo-controlled trial in Nature and Science of Sleep gave 155 adults 250 milligrams of magnesium bisglycinate daily for 28 days. The Insomnia Severity Index dropped 3.9 points in the magnesium group compared to 2.3 in placebo, statistically significant. But here's the critical detail. Most of that improvement emerged between day 14 and day 28, not in the first week. Your tissue magnesium stores take time to refill. If you try magnesium for 3 nights, decide it doesn't work, and throw the bottle in the drawer, you never gave the biology a chance. 4 weeks is the minimum honest trial. Track your sleep. Be patient. Before we wrap up, I want to hit the most common mistakes I see people make with magnesium. Because if the protocol doesn't work for you, it's almost always one of these. First, magnesium is not a sedative. It won't knock you out like Ambien. It won't even feel like melatonin. It gradually reduces hyperarousal over 30 to 60 minutes. If you're expecting to suddenly feel drowsy, you'll conclude it doesn't work. What it actually does is let your nervous system finally release its grip. Second, and this is huge, magnesium is not a substitute for the fundamentals. If you're drinking coffee at 4 p.m., scrolling until midnight, and carrying chronic stress into bed, no amount of magnesium will override that. I learned this the hard way. I used to treat supplements like cheats. They don't cheat biology. They amplify what's already working. Third, if you have kidney disease, talk to your doctor before supplementing. Magnesium is cleared by the kidneys, and impaired function can let it accumulate dangerously. Most people don't have this issue, but it's worth mentioning. And the final barrier, realistic expectations. The average effect in clinical trials is an additional 15 to 30 minutes of sleep, or a modest improvement in sleep quality. Not 3 extra hours. Not instant transformation. About 30% of people get a clinically significant improvement. The rest get smaller but real benefits. That's magnesium. It's a legitimate tool. It's not magic. And anyone selling it as magic is setting you up to feel broken when it doesn't deliver. So here's your plan. One more time. Pick glycinate, bisglycinate, or L-threonate. Never oxide. Start at 150 milligrams of elemental magnesium and ramp up over 3 weeks to 250 or 300. Take it 1 to 2 hours before bed, not at bedtime. Give it 4 weeks of honest trial. Track your sleep onset and your overnight wake-ups, and layer it on top of sleep hygiene, not instead of it. If you want the full step-by-step version of this, I put everything I've learned about rebuilding sleep, magnesium, cortisol, light exposure, timing, into a free guide called the Adrian Mercer Sleep Protocol. It's a 7-day playbook you can start tomorrow, and it goes deeper than anything I can fit into a single video. Link is in the description. Drop your email and I'll send it over. If this video was useful and you want to go deeper on the cortisol-sleep connection, because that's the other half of the story, magnesium only partially fixes. I have a video called Why You Wake at 3 a.m., the cortisol connection. It's the perfect follow-up to this one. Link is also in the description. I want to hear from you in the comments. Which form of magnesium have you tried, and what was your honest experience? Did you notice anything, or did you give up too early? I read every reply, and I'll be pinning the best stories to help other people running the same experiment. Subscribe and hit the bell. New sleep science every week. No hype, no shortcuts. Just the research and what to actually do with it. I'm Adrian Mercer. Sleep well.